This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of February 18th, 2024. Content authenticity statement. About 90% of this week's newsletter is written by me, the human. A good portion of the demo video, which you're going to see in a little while, is obviously showing a lot of generative AI content, or that is, of course, machine made. This disclosure is important. There's a link at the top of the newsletter to explain why you need to do this. It is now legally required in some parts of the world. So what's on my mind this week from comment to content? This week, a bit of a tactical how-to recipe. I'm getting ready to hit the road on a 9-day world tour to Tucson and San Diego and London. So figured we'd do something a little tactical, something you can give a try with. Over on LinkedIn, which it's where I spend most of my time now on social networks these days, there in Threads, Ashley Faus and Hannah Szabo were chatting separately about building thought leadership and presence on a social network with, as Ashley calls it, meaty comments. I shared a comment there about extending your comments to a full-blown content strategy, and I thought I'd follow my own advice and do that here. So what are we talking about? First and foremost, you need raw materials, and the raw materials are these meaty comments that you've left on other people's LinkedIn or Threads or YouTube posts, whatever the social network is of your choice. You see a post, you leave a comment. This part is critical. If you haven't had anything to say, this strategy falls apart completely. This is the same strategy that my friend Brooke Sellis recommends in her Think Conversation strategies. So step one, start putting in effort to leave meaningful, meaty, dense, big comments that add to the conversation and provide value, perspective, and knowledge that wasn't present before. This, by the way, this is what thought leadership really is, right? Your thinking advances the field as a whole. It helps provide leadership to the field as a whole. If you do it right, it's not narcissistic grandstanding nearly as much as it is conversation that leads to changes in how other people think of the same topic. The thought in thought leadership. As I've said before, my definition of thought leadership is that your thinking should change how I lead. Your thinking should change how I lead. So let's see, you've gone and done this. You've left some meaty comments. You've got some meaty comments. You've written things up on people's posts. Copy and paste them into some kind of storage system like Joplin, which is the one I use, Apple Notes, Google Keep, Notion, Evernote, OneNote, whatever. If you're stuck in the seventh circle of hell, use SharePoint, whatever you've got. At this point, it's still just a meaty comment, but that's not a bad thing, right? You've got your comment, great. Next, what we want to do is we want to turn that comment into something more. So let me show you an example of this. Let's go ahead and go to a text editor here. I'm going to switch over to my display screen. There we are. So there's my text editor. I've got this comment. This is a comment that I wrote on LinkedIn. I'm going to copy this comment, and let's go ahead and bring it into, in this case, I'm going to use Gemini, right? Use the language model of your choice. It doesn't matter which one you use. In Gemini here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to fix up this comment. I want to do 4 things with it. I want to fix grammar and spelling, right? Punctuation, issues like that. I want to look for incomplete thoughts, things that maybe I didn't think through fully. I want to look for logical structure in the content. And if there isn't one, because, a lot of times, let's face it, we sometimes foam at the mouth, right, in our comments. We want to reorder our thoughts into something more coherent. And then we want to highlight stuff that we missed. So I'm going to go ahead and take that big old comment and my instructions, pop it in here. And of course, I'm going to ask at the end, this is a general best practice for all kinds of prompting. Do you have any questions? If not, please review aloud what you're going to do and then wait for me to confirm that you understand the assignment. Right? This is feedback-based prompting that it does 2 things. 1, it makes sure that the model knows what it's doing. And 2, by giving it time to think, it's going to do a better job. So copy editing, identify incomplete concepts, analyze structure, highlight overlooked points. Okay, so does this align with your expectations? Just want to ensure that you understand the purpose. Yes, you understand the assignment. Begin task 1, right? Because we've got four 4 tasks. So task 1, what's it going to do? It's going to go through and it's going to take that comment and fix up grammar and spelling issues, just the easy stuff, right? So here's the revised comment. Looks exactly the same. It's got my language, right? So this is what we want. It did it did have a little bit of an insertion there. Great. Task 1 is done. Task 2, let's do the incomplete ideas. Begin task 2. Again, when we write comments, we're having a conversation, and just because we say something in conversation does not necessarily mean that it's coherent or that it's really well thought out. Sometimes we just talk without thinking. All right, let's see what it says. Specificity of SAYS. While the SAYS concept advocates for broad content engagement, could additional guidance be provided? Distribution channels, brand unique value. That looks good. So these are things that I said in my comment, but I didn't really explain fully, right? That's not great. So let's go ahead and begin task 3. Okay, so let's see. Here's a proposed outline. Here's a hook, a key thesis, the omnipresent brand, the importance of uniqueness, considerations and refinements, the say yes approach, the future of search, and conclusion. That's pretty nice, right? Out of my original comment, my original comment was bad, right? Remember, it was this: say yes to everything you can. Lots of people recognizing what generative AI can do. Say yes to opportunities to be online. And it's come up with this really nice outline. So that looks good. So great. Let's move on to task 4. So now it's going to say, here's all the stuff that was in your comment and then here's all the stuff that you didn't think about, right? Here's things that could be further emphasized or were underplayed. Human expertise still matters. The long game, data privacy and ownership, ethical considerations, right? That wasn't in my original comment, but that's pretty good. Those suggestions are pretty good for things that we could do with this comment. Now, you can implement the language model suggestions as is and do it by hand, right, or by machine, depending on your comfort level and what copyright you do or don't want to have. Remember, from a copyright perspective, if the machine outlines and you write, the copyright is yours, right? You own the copyright as the human. If you outline and the machine writes, no copyright exists, because in most jurisdictions, machines can't hold copyright. And in that case, it had done the work. So what would it look like if we had the machine do it, right? I would say, great. Using all the things we discussed and exactly matching my writing style, tone, voice, and content, write an enhanced and expanded version of my original content with your suggestions, amendments, and corrections for my oversights. If you need to break it up in parts, and break it into 3 parts. Do you think you need to break it up into parts? This is kind of a really cool little tip. You can chunk tasks with language models so you can have them think through things in smaller pieces, but you can also have them produce in more granular pieces, because they all have limits as to how much text they can output. So if you give it some logic and some structure, you can have produce content that's much longer than it could produce otherwise. So here we go. Part 1. The other day I was transcribing some open source audio, caught my attention. Part 2, how big is the footprint? Part 3. Yeah, that's not bad. That came out with a pretty decent, that would make a really nice beefy LinkedIn post, right? Now, we've got our content. What do we do with it? Well, now we can turn that into a LinkedIn post. You put it up as a post. If it's really long, maybe you say, hey, let's make part 2 longer. Maybe it goes up as a newsletter piece. Then after you've done that, you move on to the next comment that you've left, right? So you've from a comment to content, boom, you've got it up there. The idea and the ideal is to get a post up every day based on comments you've left. So you go and leave comments, turn them into posts. This is why the generative AI process is so helpful, right? Because I can create a post that is a derivative of my original without having to spend, an hour and a half crafting this thing. And then I can take this, of course, and put it on my blog. I can put it on a publication platform like Ghost or Medium or Substack, whatever. After the week is over, look at the engagement on your content on whatever platforms you put it on. Which of your posts that were derived from comments did the best? Read the comments you've gotten on your own posts now and copy both your post and the comments of the best performing post into your generative AI system. Have it do a new draft that outlines or just outright writes your revised piece with either incorporating or rebutting the feedback you've gotten. And now you've got some really nice long form content. Great. What do you do with this? Well, it's long form content, right? You can maybe fire up your video camera like we're doing right now, and the streaming or video capture service of your choice, put on a teleprompter or the closest thing you have to. I actually just put my phone right in front of my big screen, just read from the screen behind it. And you read your content aloud, exactly like what we're doing right now. This is a habit. It takes time to build some skill with. So the sooner you start, the better you'll get. What do you have? Congratulations. You have video content for a YouTube channel, social video site of your choice. You've taken your comment, turned it into content that's on your blog. Now you've read it aloud. It's a video. What do you do next? Take that video content, that big video file, because that's probably like 10, 15 minutes worth of reading aloud, depending on the speed you read at. Feed it to an AI system like Opus Pro, Adobe Express, or Adobe Premiere. I use Adobe Premiere, Canva, and chop up the best bits, the little zingers, into short form 60-second videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram, right? They will auto edit from the big video into little video pieces. Great. Now you've got social video. Remember, you have not done anything new. You've just taken your comment to content to video, now to short form video. Next, you take any free conversion utility or video editor. Almost every video editor will do this. Take your video and export the audio from it. I use a tool called FFmpeg. A lot of people have been using DaVinci Resolve, which is free. What do you got? Congratulations. You have a podcast. You have an audio podcast episode. If you follow this process regularly, you will have a new episode, once a week, because you're going to take, you start with those 5 posts and you see which one does the best, turn that into the video. That becomes the audio. Now you've got a podcast, which is once a week. Put it on the podcast distribution service of your choice. I use a service called Libsyn. There's many out there. I've been with Libsyn for like almost 20 years now. So it's a really good service. Great. So now you have an audio podcast. You have a video. If you're clever, you'll check the podcast feature in YouTube podcasts. And now your YouTube video is also your YouTube podcast. You've got your short form video. You've got your blog post. Maybe that blog post is a newsletter as well. That's an email newsletter. If you have a video that does really well, or a post that does really well, just goes off the charts, take the content, take the script that you had generative AI help with, right? You did save it, right? You did put this in your notebook. And we're going to have generative AI turn that into a slide presentation with guidance on what to put on the slides. So I'll go in here and say, great, let's take that long form video piece, that's video script, and turn it into slides. And I give it some instructions here. It should be a slide, the image of a coffee cup. You're not going to make the actual slides, you're just going to turn it into this text into a presentation. Let's see what it does. All right, we can see it is getting going here. It says, hey, slide 1, title getting started, image, close-up, visually appealing photo of a steaming cup of coffee and your speaker notes for that slide. Slide 2, when your audio knows your name, split screen with AI code background on the left, a screenshot of Whisper transcribing audio and inserting Christopher Penn on the right. Speaker notes. Slide 3, the big footprint error, large footprint in the sand. This is pretty good, right? I'll continue a separate response due to character limits. It's making a presentation, right? We have to do the work of assembling, the images. We might use generative AI to make the images for slides, but wow, this is now a talk. This is a coherent talk that you can give on your topic, on a webinar, at an event, at a conference, in your company. You've taken this comment, turned it into content, turned it into audio, to video, long form text, and now the stuff that resonates the best with your audience from the feedback, you've turned into a presentation. From one comment all the way to a presentation. That's pretty cool. Right? That is pretty cool. Your ideas, you're just changing the format of the ideas. So this is the strategy from comment to content. The hard part, the hard work, is to spend the time finding ways to contribute intelligently to conversations that are already happening, right? Go on LinkedIn, go on Threads, search a hashtag, participate, leave meaty comments like Ashley Faus suggests. Once you do that, once you write those meaty comments of your own, you have planted the seed that can turn into a rich, full content strategy. And this is the important part. You can do it yourself. Everything you've seen here is stuff that I have done just me. You don't need a team of 31 people. Like, the big name creators all have to execute their strategy. I was watching Hot Ones, the behind the scenes, and there's like an office of 40 people doing stuff. I watched Google Foods on YouTube. And they've got employees, rows and rows of employees chopping up video and doing edits and stuff like that. And that's how they look so good. But I can't afford 31 people. Like Gary Vaynerchuk's got like 50 people following him around the cameras all the time. I don't have that, but I do have generative AI tools. I do have a video camera. I have the internet. I have some free tools, some free software, which I've listed in the newsletter. So there's links in there. And I can turn this into a scalable content strategy that allows me to make a lot of content from comments, right? All you need are your ideas, right? Your thoughts for the thought leadership. You have those, I hope, generative AI in the appropriate gear, and you can bring this strategy to life. So from comment to content. All right, what else happened this week? Let's take a look at the rest of the newsletter here. We have, of course, the Generative AI for Marketers course. Go take it if you haven't taken it already. It is very helpful. It is due for some updates very soon. We're going to be updating it with my recommendations for the starter kit, because I've been playing a lot with Google Gemini lately, and I got to say, I was not hot on Google's implementations, but it has gotten significantly better in recent times. So that's been very interesting. There was a piece I did this week on you need passwords for life in the age of generative AI. It's a piece about personal security and deepfakes. So please go watch it, go read it, and then go take action on it. Your dependents, whether you have a caregiver for elders or you have kids, they will thank you for it, because the scams that are happening now are incredible and they're going to get worse. So go watch that piece, please. See, we have some new open positions here. We have a whole bunch. So Adobe Target Analyst at Concord, Analytics Manager AMPS, Digital Analytics Consultant at digital.net in Barcelona, Berlin, Dusseldorf, Hamburg, Munich, and Vienna. I just recently learned that the dish Wiener Schnitzel and the word wiener all come from the word Vienna. Didn't know that. Content Strategist at Financial Services, Digital Analyst at Phase 2, Marketing Data Analyst at AXA, Paid Media Director at Locomotive Agency, Senior Director of Digital Product Intelligence at Marriott International, Technical Content Writer at Writer, VP of Digital Channels at Langley Federal Credit Union, Zoho One CRM Expert at Orm Young Law Firm. That's a tongue twister. So lots and lots of positions happening there. What else was happening in the news this week? Stuff on the TikTok algorithm, maximizing your own media strategy with the Peso model. My friend Jenny Dietrich, fantastic model. Keyword diversification, which is cannibalization's good twin for SEO, which is always interesting. A questioning piece from The Atlantic asking what happens if AI learns to teach itself, which is interesting. Comparisons of the Google Analytics apps. 100 years ago, IBM was born. So happy birthday, IBM. You are now 100 years old and you don't look a day over 90. And of course, everybody and their cousin talking about the new AI models. Gemini 1.5 was announced this week, which has been said to have a 1 million token context window. So it can ingest as a prompt 700,000 words. This book is 70,000, right? So if 10 of these could be in a prompt to work with that new model, which is pretty crazy. Stable Diffusion offers SD Cascade, which is real-time image creation, which is crazy fast. And of course, OpenAI demoed their new Sora video generation model. It is not available yet. That is, they're red teaming it because they realized that it can really be abused. So it's coming soon. It looks really good. That's the part that's got everyone excited. All right, upcoming events. Social Media Marketing World is the big public event I'll be at this week. I'll also be at the Warrior Nun Convention in London, but that's not a marketing event. I've got some stuff coming up from Marketing Profs, the Society for Marketing Professional Services, first in Boston in April, then in LA in May, then the Australian Food and Grocery Council in Melbourne in May, the Marketing AI Conference in Cleveland in September, plus a few other events that the team is still working on getting contracts for. If you have an event coming up that you'd like me to come speak at, please let me know. That's literally what I do. I'm happy to talk about any of the things that you've ever seen in the newsletter. If you want it on stage, let me know. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you for watching or listening or reading, however it is you choose to consume the newsletter. I appreciate you being here. I'll talk to you next time. you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want to know when new videos are available, hit the bell button to be notified as soon as new content is live.